Hello and welcome back to the channel where we are building a video game from scratch using Love2d and Lua. So we are working on getting the A button working on our touch deployment for our website build. So right now we've got, multi-page advancement as well as talking to NPCs and stuff. And we've got, yesterday we added it so that we can actually pull up a dialog box on mobile, but we don't have the ability to advance the page or to come back from being paused to resume the game again using the touch. So that's what we are working on today. And I'll show what we had. What was it called? It was called P-Released, and it's called P-Released because we are only becoming P-Released once we release P. P is the keyboard button that maps to the A button for the Game Boy. O and P are the B and A buttons for keyboard for our game. And we have to do this because once P is pressed, or the button A is pressed, then it checks if we're colliding with a dialog box, if we're colliding with a signpost, or if we're colliding with an NPC. And it's not if we're colliding with it, it is actually if our little red box in front of us that we're rendering here, if that red box in front of us is colliding with a signpost, then it'll pull up the dialogue, and also in NPC. So that's when P is pressed. But the issue here is if you look at what happens when P is pressed, we get we set our pause to be true, which I'm not actually seeing where we do it. We should be setting paused to be getting true right here. Okay, so if P is pressed, actually, just in the play state, let's see. Okay, we've got a couple times where we're changing pause to be true. One is in the touch, and then here is the P one. Okay. So when P is pressed, we don't necessarily pause right off the bat. It's only if P is pressed and our character's red box collides with a dialog box, that's when we snag the dialog ID, so we know which dialog box object to then update. And we do that by becoming paused, and that triggers a certain update of a dialog ID object. So we can see there is the becoming paused, and then we can search for when we are paused. We have this is it. We have an update for, see how we update the dialog box table at the index of a dialog ID. That is going to update the dialog box object. And then if we look at what a dialog box object is we are essentially we're flushing the lines, right? So there's 3 lines on every page. So we're saying for set out to flush every line, because right here we're saying line 1 result and line 2 and line 3 result all become an empty string, and then we are setting a line count of 1 and a text index of 1, which is saying, hey, we're on the first line, and the text index, which is which character is being printed up one at a time, we start at character 1. And then we snag that dialogue ID. So we've got in the dialog box all this logic here that goes through. It takes the original parameter as a text for the dialogue, and then it splits it up into multi-pages, multi-lines. And then in the update function, which it only updates when the game is paused, it goes through and iterates this text index so that it can append one character at a time so that it appears to be printing on screen. And then it waits for the advancement. So right now we have the advancement for P being pressed. Let's see. This is all the init. We're looking for all the P. Where do we do this? In the update. Here it is. Okay. So yeah. Here it is. If P is pressed. Okay, so getting to the issue that we're trying to fix. Is Jimmy... Oh, fix Jimmy Cam real quick. Okay, so the big issue is if there is a multi-page setup, you know, if all the text doesn't fit on a single page, then P is pressed, we collide with the dialog box, it therefore becomes paused, and then we go ahead and update the dialog box of the given dialogue that we're colliding with. And then what happens is, since P was pressed to trigger the pause, then we also come in here and it hears that P was pressed on that same frame. So it's going in here and saying, okay, well, we're gonna become blinking, reset our blink timer, and then we're gonna increment our page and reset our text index, because we are, as long as we're not on the end page. So this is where we're messing up. And this is, I mean, it's working now because we're using the P released. So this is the issue we're trying to fix. Because using the P released field, it doesn't make much sense when we're pressing the A button. So I thought of a couple different ways to try to go about this, and it's like, I'm still not so sure. Part of me thinks that we need to sanitize like all inputs, and by that I mean like whether or not we hit the keyboard or whether or not we press on a touch screen, the end result is the same. We need to be able to know, one, what inputs are currently being held down, and two, is it the first frame that input has been held down, or is it having been held down already? So that gets kind of complicated with touch, because you can touch the A button and then drag your finger away from the A button so it's no longer colliding. And then we need to know the order of which touches to know like different things. So what I came to at the end of yesterday was to get rid of P released and instead add a button count, because we do have a was touched field for our touches, and that doesn't matter if the touch is held from a previous frame. It only counts if it is touched on that very frame. So instead of P released, we can instead just increment our A button count anytime we touch and we're colliding. We have to flush it back to 0 whenever we're not colliding. So that gets tricky for a couple different reasons. But if we walk through the logic of what we need to do to just count how many A buttons were pressed, the idea is anytime it was touched or anytime P was pressed. See, this is weird because the first time it was pressed, we don't want to advance the page because we just became paused and we just became updating our text in our dialogue system. So we need to start counting the A button count when it was pressed, but only advance the page if our button count is greater than 1. So we don't advance the page on the very first frame that we trigger the dialogue system. So that'll kind of replace our P released field. But the issue I'm thinking is for the touch build, for the web deployment, we have to be able to... Oh, you know what? This is easy. This will be easy. Let's do it. Let's get rid of our P release and just go with our advancement. So we wrote some pseudocode here. We're going to add a button count. So let's add the button count. So we're going to have a button count, and it's initialized as 0, but we're going to increment it anytime P was pressed on the keyboard, and then we'll worry about touch. So we look for P being pressed here. Okay. We're going to say that we're going to take our A button count and we're going to increment it by 1. And we only advance the page if our A button count is greater than 1. If it is equal to 1, that means it's the very first frame we've touched it. And was pressed only happens on the very first frame it was pressed, not if it was down. It doesn't check continuous input, it just checks if it was held that frame. So as long as the A button count is greater than 1, meaning we've pressed this more than once. So not on the first frame, but on the second time we press a P, and we can get rid of the P released here. And then what we need to do is whenever we have a current page equal to a page length and P was pressed, that means we're no longer false, and that means we also need to flush our A button count back to 0 so we can start counting again. So let's see if we can get the advancement working. 235, we're missing an end. I think it was just a space there. Okay. Not working. Okay. So this one works. It has two pages. So why isn't it working? If P is pressed, we increment this. And then we don't do anything until, say, current page is equal to our page length. Okay, let's try this. If it's greater than or equal to 1, it really doesn't trigger it. Okay. I thought we would be able to do this. Okay, because we're not using P release anymore. If P was pressed, we're going to count our A buttons. And then let's walk this through. If P was pressed on the first time, I think the else if screwed us up because this used to be else. So if it, let's say it was the first page, then, if our current page is equal to the page length, so if we're on page 1 and there's only one page and P was pressed, I think we also need to ask if this is a button greater than 1. A count greater than 1. And then here would be else. Okay, doesn't like that. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's test this. This should work. This should be our old method, yeah. Okay, so I guess, yeah, and this is in our dialog box. This is in our update function for our dialog box. Okay. If P was pressed and P was released. Oh. No, yeah, we had that. It should be if P was pressed. Okay, so we only want to do any of this stuff if our A button count is greater than 1. So we would say not and P released, but if our self.A button count is greater than 1, then go ahead and do this logic we used to do here. Now we do need, I guess the move might be to get rid of this, and we only do any of this stuff if our self.A button count is greater than 1, but then we need to put all this in that condition, and then we need to increment the A button count upon a P pressing. So if it's the first frame that was pressed, we don't do anything. That should bring up our first page of dialogue. So we're going to increment it, and then right here we need to reset it. We're going to say that our A button count is going to be reset to 0 if we're on the last page and P was pressed. Let's try that. Got a good feeling about that. Cool. So that's working. Does it work for multipage? It does. And then it should work for the disjointed hitbox up here. Cool. Okay. So we got rid of P released. Let's get rid of the P released here. What are we doing here? We're cycling through our touches. If any of our touches collides with our A button and the touch was touched on the very first frame, then we need to become P released, but P released is really now going to be advancing our A button count. So we're going to say A button count gets incremented. And this is essential because I'm thinking now that we did this, it'll fix our issue of not being able to advance multi-pages for the mobile deployment. So since we kind of proved, but then the thing is, we do need to do the advancement upon a touch also. So just like how right here when P is pressed, this is essentially when the A button is pressed. But this is different because this we only increment it if it was touched on the very first frame. No, this isn't. Crap. Because this compound condition is essentially making sure that it was a was pressed and is not a continuous is down. So anytime it was touched, yeah, we need to update the count, just like we're updating the count here. And then we need to do this logic, which I don't like just copying and pasting it, but this is for testing purposes. We may or may not do it prettier once we're done, but we're doing the same logic where once we touch the A button, as long as it was touched on that very first frame, was pressed on P, right? Then we're going to increment our A button count. If our A button count is greater than 1, meaning it wasn't the very first time we switched into updating our dialog box, then we're going to become blinking. We're going to increment our page if that A button was pressed, and we're going to reset our button count and become no longer paused. Flush our dialog box that we collided with. We don't need P release. Flush text probably we need. Let's get rid of this P release too. Let's test this on the mobile deployment and see if this is working. Because the 2 pages, that seems to be working. So let's commit this, and we'll say that this is testing multi-page dialog for web deployment. And then we will push, and then we'll swap over to the Mac here. Okay. We're going to pull our changes here. Oh, shit. We did miss. Did we really add 56 lines to the dialog box? We need to do a couple of different things for the deployment, and we did. We added little comments here to help us. We take off vsync. We need to also go to our constants and take this out and put in our web scale factor. And we also need to, I don't know if I'll do this just yet, but it's right now if you hit escape, on the web deployment, the whole game crashes because escape is how you exit the game. So we're going to take that off for the web deployment, but probably not now. So now that we've got those changes, I think that's all we needed. We're going to run our build process, and then we're going to redeploy all of our files to our website so we can test it out. So as long as that doesn't fail. Okay, completed. So let's try it. Okay, so far so good. Flower bed. It worked. Let's see if multi-page works. There's plenty of danger around, but treasure 2, that's great. We're running at 100 frames a second, so maybe I screwed up the vsync. But multi-page is working. That is awesome. Okay, and I'm kind of curious. When I go on low power mode, look at the frame rate drop to like 30. And then when the frame rate is low like that, I tend to have some issues, but I am not actually seeing those issues. Okay, maybe, I don't know what. Okay, well, it seems to be working. This is awesome. So now we have our NPC in the cabin up here with the disjointed hitbox so that we can actually talk to him. And we'll turn off, we'll turn off the, oh, this is so cool. What is that white dot up there? Oh, it's just the text. Okay. So one thing we want to do is for the web deployment, we want to give, well, see, and this is where it gets tricky to tell the controls, because the controls are WASD on a laptop or computer, but they're you use touch on the phone. So it makes sense to say that P and O is A and B. Enters inventory, select as help. So maybe what we do for the mobile deployment here, maybe what we can do. Oh, does this guy have any? Oh, he does. Oh, nice. I didn't even know I gave him a little dialogue. That's so cool. Nice. Okay, this is great. So I guess we're in a decent spot to rehaul our programmer art in our inventory here, because we can change our little outfit and change which spell we're holding. And then the rupees and heart look terrible down here. Yeah, that looks awful. So the tomes and all that stuff, we should probably just spend a little bit of time to make that look pretty, because we're gonna look at it whenever we're testing stuff, so we should probably have it look a little prettier. We've got our spellcasting working. Okay, so I think what we're gonna do for this build is we're gonna take off the red dialog box collision, and then we're also going to disable the escape button so that we can't accidentally pause this on desktop, because if you hit escape it'll just brick. And then we can also I guess we can also add some touch controls maybe to the bottom of the HTML here. I don't know how necessary that is. I mean, we want people to know how to play, right? If they don't know, because there's no visual cue that holding A is for a certain amount of time will show your spell. We do have a placeholder, yeah, and you know what? I think we'll turn on our Monas placeholder so that people can see it, so they're less confused about what A button works or what A button does. And then little stuff like when we talk to an NPC, they should face us. Whatever direction they're facing, they should face us. But then that needs to not screw up their logic for walking or whatever. This is cool. Okay, so let's do those couple things and then maybe call it a night. So we need to go find our exit button where we pause or exit the game and take that off. I want to say that was in our main. Okay, if key is escape quit, we can just comment that out for the mobile deployment. And then we need to take off the dialog box for our player, which is either in our player class. I think it's in our player class. Yeah, right here, dialog box detection. We can take that off. So if we play this, okay, we no longer have that dialog box, and then enter no longer escapes. We'd have to come in here. But that is good for the deployment. So let's go ahead and rebuild our game, and then we'll redeploy those files. Okay, and then let's see. Nice. Yep, no red box, but it still works. Cool. Awesome, man. This is great. Oops. Okay. Okay. So let's test whether or not we can get the proper text on screen here. So I guess let's go back to our Mac here. Okay, so if we load this, okay, so now enter doesn't brick us, which is good. The P and O buttons seem to be working okay. This is all working okay. Okay, so it would be nice if we had some instructions, some controls for people up here to let them know that O and P are your A and B buttons, and that enter is your inventory, and I don't know, oh, H is technically select for now, but I don't know exactly what select will do. Right now we just have H for help that tells you controls. That's like a convention I try to do in all my games is you can always hit H to pull up help for controls and stuff, but I don't tell anyone that hit H for help. So let's see. We'd want to come into our index HTML or whatever and add some instructions. Man, the text is so small. Okay. Okay, so there's our header. This is like a Frankenstein version of the Love.js GitHub default. I took out some of the logo picture stuff and gave us a blue background, but this is mostly stuff I did not write. So this is just what the module needs to load the game for the deployment. So if this is in our body tag, we should be able to add a div in here. Let's see, because we want to preview this, make sure it's centered and looks okay. So we can just open this index HTML locally. Oh, we can do this. That's not the deployment. I want it locally. How do you do it local? Hold shift to open local. Okay, so there's our little add controls, right? But we need it to be centered. If I do inline CSS, is that a sin? What is it? Text to line. Is it class? Oh my gosh, man. It's been so long since I've done raw HTML like this. This is the age-old, can you center a div? Style. Text align. I don't know. Text align center. Is it class that you do this? Okay, if we do that. Okay, we did center it. We do want to give it a little bit of padding or margin. And then we can literally just add controls here. Oh, and the control is A button is P. B button is O. Enter, yeah, start button is enter. And then select button is technically H right now. Should be shift. Let's see. Okay. It is kind of tiny. I'd be curious what this looks like on the web deployment, like on mobile. Maybe we can say, I guess it's pretty apparent that those are controls. We probably don't need to label it controls, right? I think I like defining the button first. Does that make sense? Gosh. I kind of want this color for text. I don't know what color that is though. Let's see. For the header, it's just a header color. Do we have a style sheet? For the header, oh, here's the color. Okay. So let's get this same color. Nice. Okay. Let's try this and see what it looks like on mobile. don't see it. We didn't upload the index HTML. Okay, now let's try it. Nice. Okay. I mean, mobile won't even use this, but maybe we can say desktop, or I don't know. It's self-explanatory that you can, if you're on mobile, you can press the Game Boy stuff, right? There is, and you know what? There is one more button we have on the desktop. Is it G? I think we have G or something to toggle off the Game Boy resolution or the Game Boy overlay. Yeah. So we can add that. Because, if you're playing on desktop, you probably don't want the small screen. So we have this to play bigger. So this is G to toggle it back into the Game Boy. And you can't press G on the phone, so I think we're okay there. So let's add. Let's say G to toggle. Toggle aspect ratio, toggle viewport, toggle overlay, toggle Game Boy overlay, toggle Game Boy. I don't know. Let's do that. Yeah, shift should probably be select. It's not very apparent how to change inventory slots either, but you've only got 2 buttons on the Game Boy there, so I don't know. That's a tough one to make it clear how to toggle inventory sides and whatnot. And there's also, we don't say, if you toggle loot, it assigns it to your item slot, and then if you hit B when your item slot's active, you can start to play this. Yeah. This is cool. It's starting to take shape. Nice. Okay. I feel like there was one more thing I wanted to do. Oh, the help button. Instead of H, it should probably be select. That doesn't work. L shift or R shift? Okay. Okay, nice. So now shift is H on the deployment as long as we ship that. We should probably commit that too. Yeah, I don't want to have to type that out again. So I guess what we do... Okay, I guess what we're going to do is change the index HTML to be shift is select. I guess we're taking out the H I normally like to do for help. I don't know what to do. I guess I can think about what select would do in our game. Start is our inventory. Oh, I guess select would be our menu. So maybe what we do, yeah, you know what? Let's keep this as help. H is help. We'll undo this because we need a totally different page for, like, you know, it's gonna be like Pokemon Silver where you can pull up your menu, go into settings, save your game, load a game or whatever, and then that needs to be either start or select. And start, I guess that makes more sense for start, and select would be inventory, but I don't exactly know. We don't have that just yet, so I'm just going to leave it as H. And then let's just redeploy our index HTML. H is help. H is help. Cool. Okay. Nice. Okay, so we have touch working for the dialog box, which is really nice. I guess if we have to distill what are the best things to focus on coming up, it's probably making our inventory system prettier so it's not programmer art. You know, I think a little bit of polish would go a long way on this screen. And then, because we're trying to, you know, like, if someone wants to play it, it'd be nice if, you know, I'm at Thanksgiving or whatever and I can just say, hey, whip out your phone, go to my website, play the game, and have it look decent. At least now you can actually read a sign and talk to people if you want. So that's a good step to have. And we got that done today. It'd be really nice if it looks pretty on the inventory system so that we can show how cool the loot is. We have to fix that little loot bug where it shows the frets on the first frame. Okay, this is sweet though. I guess another thing we need to do is what's a big thing? I guess like little things like it, they should probably face us when we talk to them. And then, yeah, I don't know. I guess at that point we're kind of ready to start doing some basic level design because we've got a lot of stuff working now. Oh, we might want our Modest bar back online for the web deployment because it's not very apparent that a button, even when an item an element slot is not equipped, that it still casts a spell. So that's one thing we've got to do. So maybe for a placeholder, we can just change the color we're rendering our flame. And depending on which color we select here, we can just change the color of the spell we're rendering, and then only cast a spell if an active item, I call these elements, if an active element slot is filled, that's when we cast a spell. And then maybe we default to him holding a spell so that if people don't figure out there's an inventory system to switch, that they can still press A to cast a spell so that they can play against the geckos. Then we need to add collision detection for the geckos for the overworld, and then also make them fade invisible once they walk off. There's a hidden top level tile right here. We've got to fix that in tiled. Let's get our Monas back and then we'll call it a night. So I think we have, what did we call it? Monas bar? Monas render? Monas is what I call the magic in this game. It's technically like more close to focus. Should be down here. Oh lordy. Where is it? Cast bar right here. Cast bar, render, Monas bar. Okay, so it should be this. Yeah, it should be this. Let's try that locally here. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so that's the bar. So the idea is, you hold P, that exerts your energy. That's the red bar. And then the white dot is like the output of your focus. So you balance your focus and energy into the green zone so that you can cast a spell. So we'll deploy this so that people online can at least see the Monas bar. Okay. So we should have the Monas bar now. Sweet. Yep, we got it. Cool. Okay. Yeah. I guess tomorrow might be pixel art for the inventory system, kind of polishing that up, or it might be the NPC facing us when we talk to them and making sure we don't screw up their walk pattern, because there's a couple patterns we programmed. Like this guy has got the rectangle one, just like the mage on the first frame, the first scene, just walks in a square. And then we'll try to build together a couple of scenes where people can play and cast spells and have little enemies to fight. We'll start working on level design, because once we get we could write like a little intro script for the story, and then have like a one level designed, like maybe like a series of 10 scenes or something, to have like a 5 to 10 minutes of gameplay or something. And maybe at that point we can submit it to Steam. I don't know how done it has to be in order to submit to Steam, but it'd be nice if we can get the page for Steam up and running so we can link people to it. But yeah, that'll be coming up. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. Hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving. But yeah, we'll raid out here. Let's see who is streaming. We'll raid out here. rate out our buddy Hypnotic. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow.